Alright everybody, what's up? It's DJ Sketch and welcome back. Today I want to take a look at the new release from Bethesda and id Software. I'm talking about Rage 2. This one I was actually super hyped on when I heard it get announced, I guess a little over a year ago. And I didn't know this was going to be a collaboration between id Software and Avalanche Studios, the people responsible for the Mad Max game, which came out maybe 4 years ago now at this point, which was a sleeper game. Not a lot of people played it, but it was a good one. And it also makes a lot of sense, especially with vehicle combat and the driving. Honestly, it makes a lot of sense as to how the two feel so different, even though they're kind of the same thing if you really look at it. And I just want to get into a couple things about this game that were good and a couple things that I really wasn't too crazy about. I put about 25 hours into this so far, and I finished the main campaign, so I found most of the stuff. Some of it I just did not find. And I think I'm at the point where I can probably talk about this and make it either easier or more difficult for someone who might be on the fence about this one still. So, compared to the original Rage, which came out back in 2011, can't believe it's already been that long. But yeah, it's definitely an improvement. Graphically, it's leaps ahead of the original. And combat-wise, I can also say the same. The shooting in the first one compared to this one, it's definitely gone up a few notches. Like honestly, the effects-wise, and also just the arsenal that you get in this one. A couple weapons, well, I guess a couple weapons do come back from the original. The shotgun mainly, but as far as what you get, baseline, not bad. The combat and pretty much the modifications that you'll get throughout the game, going through arcs, and also just collecting nanotrites and Feltrite to power up your mods. Honestly, the combat's honestly the best part of this game. I'll go ahead and get that out of the way right now. The combat is key in this game. It's an id Software game, so that's pretty much what anyone would expect. And I can definitely tell you that part, it definitely delivers. Like, jibbing people, or jibbing out, I guess, the characters throughout the game, it feels great. Weapons you get, at least the ones I actually found in my playthrough, at least the first time around, were fucking awesome. Especially once you modify them. Then once you actually modify the assault rifle all the way to the max, pretty much that thing is a laser. There's no recoil and it fires really, really fast. So pretty much anything that's in front of you is about to get melted, regardless of what kind of character it is. So that part is sick. The gore effects, as I said before, the jibbing in this game is sick. Honestly, there's also parts where everything slows down, and also you get a real nice look as everything just really slowly just pretty much cantaloupe explodes. It's pretty sick, some of the stuff that goes down in this game. There's a lot of motion blur, so if you play Vice City, these effects should seem very, very familiar. You can turn those off, by the way, if it makes it a little bit easier on the eyes, because some of that stuff does get a little bit intense. And also just has almost that Blood Dragon feel as far as the visuals themselves. It really reminds me of that a lot, which is interesting because I know the newest Far Cry tried to do the same thing slightly, but this one, honestly, it's more often than not, it nails more the feel of Blood Dragon than the people that made Blood Dragon did, which is interesting. And the story, it's about what you'd expect. I really can't call this a pro nor a con because it's just so in between. I mean, it's just kind of there to push the narrative along throughout the game. Pretty much your arc gets raided, or it gets attacked. General Cross is the main antagonist in this one. So pretty much the whole game is leading up to your battle with him once you're powered up enough to deal with General Cross. So I mean, it's video game logic. The story is nothing. It's not going to win any Oscars, people. So the story is honestly not that important. It just pushes the game along. I mean, it's what you'd expect in a shoot-by-numbers dystopia set game. You have your villain. Your villain does this. Your character is now going to do this in order to do this to finish the story. It's the shit is basic. It's super basic. And is it great? No, but also I'm not really expecting The Godfather with my shooters these days, because that's just not going to happen. And the characters that you'll find throughout, they're pretty quirky. It's almost like Borderlands humor, very much so like the first one. And also some of the characters from the original Rage do make a second appearance. I'm not going to say which ones, because if you want to know, honestly, you should just play it yourself. But we'll get to more of that in just a little bit. And as I said before, the effects and also some of the camera work and just the visual tricks they have with this game, they're cool, man. Honestly, I'd say they're really not that bad. And so let's get to the not so good side of this game, which only there's really not too much, but there's enough to warrant either picking this up or not. So first I'll get to the main one, the driving. The driving at first, it really wasn't, it didn't hit me until I actually played around with this for more than 30 minutes. The driving feels like the car is drunk. Like, honestly, the driving feels like it kind of got second fiddle to everything else that's going on in the game because the combat is so good, but then the driving is, it's passable. But just doing basic maneuvers, it just feels really, really weird. You get used to it after a while, especially once you get closer to finishing the game, but the driving aspect of this was definitely not the main thing to be hyped on. The combat's cool with the convoys, I'll give it that. The vehicle combat isn't as bad, but it's only after you figured out how to kind of finagle the control as far as what this car does and doesn't want to do. And also, but the Icarus little flying hovercraft thing, that wasn't so bad. That made everything a lot easier, except you have no weapons. So there's definitely some trade-off with the type of travel you prefer to do. And overall, the campaign length, this was also a bit of a letdown. Much like the original, it's short. Like, honestly, it's really, really short. Like, not as short as the original Rage, because that game was literally 8 hours and it's over. Like, there wasn't a whole lot of exploration you could do in the first one. You do some races and the Mutant Bash, but that was all part of the campaign, so it all kind of just took you in one path. You pick your difficulty to see how much or more or less aggro your opponents were going to be, and that was it. Rage 2, it honestly kind of does the same thing, except you have a lot more stuff to do, granted, and it opens up the world more, so you're actually having to make more stops, and if you want to, so honestly, if you want to just plow through this one and just do all the mainline stuff, you'll finish this in under 10 hours, much like the original, but it's recommended that you go through and just do everything piece by piece. Hit the arcs, hit all the strongholds, hit the road chokes, do all the things that the map suggests, because honestly you'll kind of be glad you did. If you do it that way, you'll be happy that you did. And overall, campaign length, short. Honestly, this one I finished I got everything that I could do, since it was the only things that were highlighted on the map. I put in maybe 25 hours total. And that's not bad, but honestly, it's shorter. It's still not that much longer than the original by comparison, considering most of the stuff is padding, much how Far Cry New Dawn did with the leveling system in their game, which is oddly similar. One of the big ones that I noticed, the audio glitches in this one, much like the Division 2 with the gunfire glitch, where like gunfire just won't stop, that also is present in this one. And it just keeps going. You can also get in the car and start driving to another objective. That gunfire is still going to be just as loud as it was when you were in that battle that which gunfire incurred. So pretty much you have to just completely restart the game for that to happen. There was points even right in the beginning where the audio just completely cut out from a character. Like they were sitting there, I see their mouths moving, but they weren't saying anything. It was kind of strange, but also at the same time, I'm glad I had the captions turned on so I didn't miss anything. So there are some audio glitches in this game, surprising. This is like one of the first times I've noticed it in an id Software game also. So I'm wondering, is Bethesda getting a little too deep with their doings in the office? Another thing too, like with the enemies, you basically had roughly 4 factions, even though they had maybe 3 enemy types each. You had your basic raiders, which basically all those look the same. They have a couple palette swaps, which would mostly just be the hair and the armor. You got your shrouded, which was your basic cloak soldier and cloak ninja, and that was it. And then you had the authority, which you had more your mechs, or kind of like more cyborg-esque enemies, which again were only 2 types. And then mutants, which only were 2 types, well 3 if you count the crushers. So enemy variety overall, which they all are kind of spread out over certain areas. After a point, they kind of all start converging in one spot. Again, it's not much in the way of variety, which I thought was sort of strange, and something I wish there was more of. But the shrouded cloaking thing, I thought that part was pretty tight. And also the main one that I've also heard a lot of people mentioning over the last week since this game released is the overworld. Granted, there are some things going on as you're driving around. You'll see people on the side of the road. You'll see other crews battling on the side of the road. But that's about it. You really don't see anything too out of the ordinary. Sometimes the Authority will drop some cyborgs on you. That will happen. And you are going to see convoys driving around, which you can either try to battle them, or you can just keep driving, mind your business. And you'll see meteors go by every once in a while, which is also pretty cool. I thought that was a nice touch. And you'll see the vendors and people that want to race you, they'll be driving around, but that's really the only things you'll see going on the map, besides the Authority sentries trying to pop up and smoke you. So, again, people keep saying there's not a lot going on the overall map itself, but I kind of am on the fence on that one. I agree, but also slightly disagree, because once you go from place to place, things do actually get different. The wetlands were honestly probably one of the best looking spots on the map, and as far as actual locations themselves, some of course are pretty bombed out and dreary, and then others are actually pretty lush and nice looking. It's honestly, there's a pretty solid contrast. So that one, again, I'm not really going to call that a pro nor a con. I'm just going to say it's in the middle, because nothing's really amazing, but nothing's really downright terrible either. Plus, you can tell with some of these environments that the staff on this that made this game, I'm not sure if it's the Avalanche or the id Software side, some of them definitely play God Hand. So the spinning monkey with the razor blades, that's right out of God Hand. So that part's awesome, and I appreciate that. But I know I've been banging on about this for a minute now, so let's just go ahead and get to the meat of it. So overall, the shooting and the combat is the highlight of this game. Much like the original, the combat was the best part. But also there was so much more that was honestly kind of just tugging it back ever so slightly. And honestly, with the combat being what it is, that's what you would expect from an id Software game at this point. It feels like Doom, but also there's a lot of stuff that also just kind of tethers it back. That menu system also is, that is just overly complicated, but once you figure it out, things are a little bit easier. But the menu system as a whole, it really, even that chugs, and that's strange. When does a menu system chug just to do and make simple choices? It's strange. But as I was back to what I was saying before, though, for the combat being as polished as it is, it's kind of surprising the rest of it is not nearly as polished. It's all passable, sure, but at the same time, it's how is one part so much better than the other was my main question throughout the entire game. But overall, with this crossover with Avalanche Studios, it delivers a decent package, and it's an improvement over the original, I'll definitely give it that. But with its short length, and also how some of the gameplay is going to be repetitive, it really holds it back from being that great triumphant return that some of us were hoping for with Rage 2, because the original Rage has kind of a bobo ending. I'm sure most of us already know that by now, and even this one, I really can't say it's a whole lot better, but the gameplay is fun. I'll give it that. But also with that, I have to give it a score that reflects. I mean, I know I gave Far Cry New Dawn a 7, and even that, I got maybe slightly more enjoyment with this than I did out of that. And these games also, thematically are very similar, even down to the colors they chose to use. So for this one, I'm giving it a solid, I guess I don't know what to call it, so call it a semi 7.5 out of 10, 7.5. That's where I'm going. That's where I'm staying. And also the DLC mission that was a pre-order bonus. It's not fucking available yet. So yeah, I'm just stuck with waiting on some more stuff to do with this game at the moment. But if you find this helpful, awesome. I hope this either makes or breaks a decision to pick this up. Also, definitely recommend wait for this to go on sale. This is one of those games, again, I would not recommend playing full price for, but when it goes down to maybe $40-$30, go for it. Honestly, it's worth it at that point, I'd say. But yeah, hope you found this helpful, and if you like this kind of thing, subscribe or thumbs it up, all that stuff if you want to. It doesn't really matter. And I'll see you guys on the next video. See ya.